Hello everyone and welcome back to another Batman Miniature Game 3rd edition battle report for the channel, and today a Mr. Freeze-less Mr. Freeze crew is going up against a Joker crew on the table you can see before you. So without further ado, we're just going to jump straight in and take a look at both sides and what funding they've spent on equipment. So it's almost entirely a girls doing it for themselves crew for Mr. Freeze at this time, being led by Mrs. Freeze, Nora, because that's thematically apt, although Killer Frost is here. That's the two sidekick options available for the crew. But Nora is taking the leader cap here to be the boss, just because it fits better. But Killer Frost is obviously here, and she's very powerful as well, because she's the same rep cost as Mr. Freeze. Along with that, though, they are bringing Freeze Thugs 1, 2, 3, and 5. 5 and the Engineer as well. 5 is the big guy with the orange beard. The Engineer is the one with the spanner or whatever it is at the back there. They're the two newest ones that released with Nora. The one with the big cryo cannon at the back there is Thug 1. The two hands that are gone and replaced with guns is Thug 2, and then the one with the power fist is Thug 3. Upgrades wise, the one with the cannon has a scope. The ginger bearded Santa looking guy has cryo grenade and Queen's Chosen, which is a Killer Frost upgrade that gives him bodyguard, and the one with the power fist has cryo grenade. That's it. Everything else was taken up by guns and such. So they're spread out a little bit, but here's the Joker crew, also sporting 7 miniatures and bringing to the table for the first time since his 3rd edition card updates, Clayface, who now gets 3 suspect markers placed down. They kind of act like cat markers. He can move them, he can teleport to them and heal a little bit if he dies. We don't have the official ones because this is the old release, so made up 3 from spare cat markers. Do not trust these clay cats, there's something wrong with them. So those are his. We'll show where they're deployed at the start of the game. I actually think like he would be a subtle good pick for the new Scarecrow crew because of his mechanics now. And like if there's not 3 markers down, which do count as suspect markers, he gets to put one down on his turn for free. Because I think he actually would really synergize well with Scarecrow. But anyway, that's another story for another day. Arkham Asylum Joker is leading the crew, bringing along Arkham Asylum Harley Quinn. The new release based on the Arkham Asylum video game. She's got the pole dancer upgrade. It's not really going to be relevant. That was just spare funding. Ace of Spades, Hobo Clown, Buffoon, and Joker Paramilitary 3 make up the rest of the crew. Oh, it is worth pointing out though, this Harley has a Psychiatrist on a special action, which buffs attack and defense stats by 1 for any henchman within 8 inches of her with a mental disorder, with the exception of Joker and Clayface. All of them have a mental disorder, so she's actually a really good buff piece for this setup. That said, Ace of Spades, the one with the grenades at the top right there, neurotropic drugs to make him faster, Joker's gas, so it gives him a special action where he can release gas and poison everyone. Hobo Clown's got a grapple gun, a 14 rev model has a grapple gun, and Buffoon has a gas mask, just again because there was some spare funding with nothing else that appealed. They're in the black and yellow markers. The Mrs. Freeze crew, I guess we'll try and refer to it as, is in red and black. And with that, we'll get set up. Alright, we are all set up and good to go. The Mrs. Freeze crew is to your right and will be taking first activation. There'll be no passes on either side, and both sides have 7 minis. Joker's on the left. We have some out of deployment actions to cover though, as well as showing who has Audacity. Let's do that first real quick for the Mr. Freeze crew. Got the Power Fist lady down here with Audacity, with next to the 2 gun hands lady. The rest of them are in a big bunch over here behind this building. Killer Frost has Audacity, Nora does, so does the big guy at the back there. Oh yeah, and for this guy here, who I kept on saying had a cryo cannon, it's a cryo launcher. Don't think I mentioned, but it has a scope, just in case I didn't. So for Joker's crew, a couple of undercovers. The one with the rocket launcher is deployed up here. He's going to be stranded there once he's out of ammo, but it does give him a nice line of sight in the street down there. And Clayface himself also has undercover. He didn't go that much out of the deployment. He can be up to 8 outside. And then when you place him, within 8 of him, you place the 3 the clay body markers, which are cat markers in this instance. But they do count as suspect markers. They can be revealed, frozen, etc. And they all have to be within 8 of him. When he moves, he can move 1 of them. If he dies, he can spawn at 1 of them. If, when he activates, there's less than 3, he gets a free manipulate to put another one down. I think that's the main changes for him. Other than that, he's basically the same. So, and he's weak to ice, which is a problem here for him, because it means he can't convert stun to blood or vice versa, which he can normally do. But he's got Audacity. Hobo Clown down here has Audacity next to Harley, who also has it. And then Joker himself next to Buffoon down here in Ace of Spades has it. There is no Phase 1 or Phase 2 cards being played at all, so we're just jumping in about round 1. So for the Mrs. Freeze crew, it was her engineer that got the game started. No Audacity, but right next to her boss. She moved up to the edge of the building here, not even her full 8 inches, put down a suspect marker, and in doing so, played a freeze is coming. When placing a friendly suspect marker, roll 1d3 plus 1, and place a numeric counter on it. Count it down at the end of each subsequent activation. If it hits 0, score the card. It came down to 2 plus the 1, so 3 activations from now, that is going to score if nothing is done about that suspect marker. Clayface was the first activation for the Joker, so we already get to talk about some of the shenanigans he is able to do now, which is why there's an event marker there. He started by using a special action called Clay Slide. So you place an event marker in base to base with him, that's why it's still there, just to show what happened. Then you move him into base to base with one of his clay markers. Then you move the clay marker in base to base with the event marker, and finally remove the event marker. So essentially you're just swapping places, but they use the event marker as kind of like the marker icon you go by. So Clayface teleported basically where that cat was, Clay Cat, and then we're going to have to come around here because he kind of suicided into the enemy lines such that he is actually going to remove this suspect marker here and stop a freeze is coming from scoring. It is going to be gone. Now he's obviously going to get annihilated now, but in doing that he has scored so long it's been a gas. That means the Joker has to pick one of his models to drop a suspect and suffer enervating 2. The one on the roof up there has, and a freeze is being discarded because it can't score now. But the respawning on the clay markers for the new Clayface triggers on KO or casualty. So yes, he is going to be annihilated and he's going to go down, but then he's going to teleport back into the safety of his deployment line. He has regeneration. So it seemed like a really good move because it's not that bad if he goes down this early. And he wanted to get rid of the suspect marker before it had a chance to get frozen, because then it's so much more annoying to get rid of. So it might work out. He is going to get battered, but we'll see. Oh, just as a little addendum to Clayface's activation, because he was moved and or placed, he can move I keep on wanting to call them cat markers, a clay body marker 4 inches, so he moved that one even further into the corner there just to give him a safe respawn point, essentially. Also forgot to mention, Clayface has adaptable, so does Killer Frost. They both took movement for turn 1. As it turns out, Clayface did not need it. Thanks to that shifting around and having undercover for the start of the game, he should have taken defense. But just mentioning it, it'll probably be defense from this point on unless otherwise stated for both of them. We'll see. Well, in an effort to punish Clayface for his audacity, he did have it to be fair, the cryo launcher freeze thug, activated with no audacity. He stood still and he just fired his cryo launcher right into Clayface, who again, if he's getting hit by a weapon with the cold trait, he isn't allowed to try and convert the damage. The roll was pathetic though, only the strength I got through on mechanical on a 3+, so it just does the flat 2 blood, 1 stun damage. Regardless of what happened there though, at the start of his activation he put into play an Endless Winter, so this one starts counting up as enemy suspect markers become frozen. It will score once 3 of them have been frozen. You can only have 1 copy of the card in play at a time, so it's in play now until it's scored. Simple activation for Buffon next. For Joker's crew, he moved up outside of the 2 inches of deployment, so he could put down a suspect marker, except it was not a suspect marker. It was the game's first Stinky Fish, as is turn 1 tradition for a Joker crew, so it doesn't look fresh. It is now in play. Meshed it out a little bit. Killer Frost is definitely going to be able to reach, thanks to the boosted movement she has from Adaptable, to do Ice Flash to probably freeze that, but it would still be putting her in the middle of the street and in the firing line. The Parafist wielding Freeze Thug, who I think is number 3, activated with Audacity. She moved up outside of her deployment over here. She used her tactical action to put down a suspect marker, then as a special action she dropped a cryo grenade at her feet in order to freeze it. And just as a reminder, a frozen suspect marker, if you don't have the cold acclimation trait, which only the freeze crew has, you can't just use a normal manipulate to remove it, you have to use another action alongside it. And it's got a number on it that's a bit reflective, apologies but that's a 4, because another freeze is coming was put into play. And thanks to her being able to freeze the suspect marker with that cryo grenade upgrade, it means it's a bit harder to remove, so this should score for 3. Hobo Clown activated for Joker's crew next. Also during some measuring, Ace of Spades was knocked out of position, not sure if he's where he should be. I think he was on one side of Joker. Either way, he got knocked unfortunately, so he just had to get placed back roughly where he was. But Hobo Clown activated and he had a bit of a trolley turn. He started by playing Let Them In on the Joke as a resource to increase the counter on that Freeze is coming to 6. You can increase or decrease a counter by 1 or 2. So he increased it up to 6. He then used his grapple gun that he inexplicably has from funding, shot down over here so he was just within, that if he put down a suspect marker, it would be within 4 of the frozen marker. It's counted down to 5 now at the end of his turn. And let him score. I let them in on the joke. So they had 2 in hand. One friendly model with the Trickster trait, which Joker gives everybody, places the suspect marker within 4 of an enemy model, and then you both discard a card. So that has scored for 2. Has put Hobo Clown in danger, but hey, he trolled. Killer Frost decided it was time to activate, had more than enough movement to go where she wanted to go, which was into the street there. As part of her Ice Queen rule, she, as a free action, can pick a suspect marker within 4 inches and just freeze it. So she picked the one Hobo Clown put down, froze that, put 1 marker on Endless Winter as a result. Then, for her tactical action, she chucked an Ice Dagger Barrage at him. It got 3 hits through, it does blood stun, so it would be 3 blood, 3 stun, but it has exposure, so for every successful hit beyond the first, you can pick an additional damage marker, so 2 blood. That would mean a couple of things. One, in her freezing that suspect marker right next to Hobo Clown, an Ice Age card comes out of play, or into play rather, and you freeze one of the Joker's hands, so a Confusion card has now been frozen. And that also means that Nora is now stronger, because for every Ice Age card in play she gets stronger. Her weapons basically have the assault rule now. It's worded slightly differently, but it's assault. So her guns have assault now, and that Confusion card, if Joker's crew want it back, they'll have to reveal a frozen suspect marker. Now, that would mean that Hobo Clown is dead, as I just said, with the extra damage there. However, we just lean over here real quick. Killer Frost's card, Cold as Ice, is being played. A friendly model performs an attack against a model not suffering KO, and would remove it as a casualty. Instead, ignore all the damage from the attack, and the model suffers the freeze effect instead. So Hobo Clown is ignoring the damage that would otherwise have killed him, but now he is frozen, and will find it very hard to activate next turn. Ace of Spades, activated without Audacity, just moved up to the corner there, too close to one of the clay body markers to put down a suspect marker with the Free Inspired Manipulate. During his turn though, and that's why we have to come over here, he played Let Them Do Their Thing. You pick a friendly suspect marker to reveal, and can't see anything that says you can't do it to a frozen one, which would normally need 2 actions because this is a card doing it, so presumably this is okay. You pick a direction, roll 2d6, move it in that direction, place the explosive template. If anyone gets hit, go for 2 stun damage, and if it hits someone, it does score for 2. He wanted it to go wildly off course, honestly, and hit that cluster over there of 3, but it moved 5 inches. Oh, the roll's still there, 5 inches. So it was that suspect marker that had just been frozen. It hit Killer Frost for 2 stun. The Freeze Thug with the gun hands activated and moved up. She didn't move up as far as she could because she doesn't want all 3 of them to be hittable when the rocket launcher guy activates for Joker's crew. So she's back just enough that even, like, no matter which way you cut it, the explosive template can only hit 2 of them at max. That's the best they're going to hope for. So during her turn though, she did do something. She put a Kingdom of Ice into play. So anytime a model suffers damage from a weapon with the cold trait, you put a marker on this, and when it has 5 it scores for 2. You can only have 1 in play at a time. So it was time for Undercover Rocket Launcher Man to attack. He used his 1 gas rocket. It doesn't do damage, you just have to make sure it hits, and then it does Enervating 2 and Poison. So he did it down here, and he hit the Parafist Lady and Killer Frost. Killer Frost was the only one to actually get hit by it though, so she now has Poison 1 and Enervating 2. The other one got pretty lucky. Now after the next activation for the Freeze crew, that counter is hitting 0, and a Freeze is coming will score. So the big ginger Freeze Thug activated with Audacity and charged into Clayface, however not before putting into play an important research. So if at the end of the next activation, which is either going to be Harley or Joker, there's still at least 1 Ice Age card in play, this is going to score for a massive 3, however it will free up the Ice Age card. So we'll see. I think it pretty much is a guarantee. Also during his activation, or at the end of his activation, a Freeze is coming scores, as just mentioned. During his turn though, he moved up next to Clayface, then he did Cryostorm, I think it's called. It's a special action. You center the explosive template on him, and any enemies covered, it's a strength dice 3+, does double stun. So he did 2 stun to Clayface. If there had been any suspect markers in range, it would also have frozen them, but there isn't. He then used his Cryo Giga Axe, is what it's actually called. And he efforted once, Clayface did not effort at all. Blood stun with Devastating and Handy. His strength die rolls were a whiff, his normal rolls were fantastic, but Clayface's defense rolls were also pretty good. No exposure on it means it didn't do that great. It did 3 blood, 3 stun, which in total means that Clayface is sitting on 6 stun, 5 blood, and he's a 7/7 miniature, so he still doesn't need to respawn on one of his clay bodies. He is actually still conscious. So it was the Joker who activated. He moved up outside of the 2 inches beyond his deployment zone, so you could put down a assessment marker that is just 4 inches away from that fish up there, and as the crow flies, also that one up there. Turned it into explosive teeth with Bite the Dust. Only rolled a 2 on the d6, which is not ideal, so he then immediately played another Let Them In on the joke as a resource to bump that up. So it is actually bumping up to 4 turns, which means it's not going to explode in this turn, but it might be better positioned for when it explodes next turn. He's not doing anything else. He doesn't want to use his one-shot gun. He can't really get goad. Actually, does this Joker even have goad? I think he does. Actually, no, he doesn't. He has Joker's Guess and Electric Handshake. Slightly different. And he has Protect Me to help him out with Ace of Spades there if things go poorly at the top of the next turn. But with the completion of that activation, the Confusion card becomes unfrozen. That means Nora depowers a little bit as well. But Important Research scores for a massive 3. Not exactly the most bombastic turn for Nora to end off the Freeze crew's first turn. She walked up, she put down a suspect marker to replace the one that had been removed there earlier. She did Ice Flash on Clayface, which automatically freezes suspect markers within 2, so that's why it's frozen. He passed his endurance roll, so he's just moved -2, although I think he was already hit by cold. Oh, yes he was, which put 1 marker on Kingdom of Ice that I forgot to mention. So I think he's -4 movement right now, but very much still kicking and not having to respawn. She didn't do anything else with her turn though, couldn't put any more cards into play. The teeth moved towards her 5 inches, and now it is over to Harley to end off the round. So Harley activated, but even with her base movement of 12 plus an extra 2 from fast, she couldn't get up to the frozen suspect up there, which is kind of what she was eyeing up. So instead she went behind the frozen hobo clown over here, and then as a special action used Follow Me to give a movement boon to Buffoon. Only had a 2 marker, but I believe it's a 4 marker for it. And then the teeth waddled towards her for 2. So 2 activations into the next round, it will explode. So at the end of battle round 1, there is no additional cards to play. We don't have any KO checks to talk about. There is just cards in play. Bite the Dust stays in play for Joker's crew, but It Doesn't Look Fresh scores because the Stinky Fish put down was not removed, so it has scored for 2. Joker's crew scored a bunch of cards this turn, although the Freeze crew, they didn't score as many, but they were all worth 3, I think, so I'm pretty sure it's fairly even. That said, Kingdom of Ice, Endless Winter both stay in play with 1 pip on each, and with that we'll jump into battle round 2 and see who gets Audacity. So here we are at the top of battle round 2, and Joker's crew has taken first activation from the Freeze crew, and they're the only ones playing objective cards. They're playing 2 phase 1 cards that are basically meant for each other. They're starting with Showtime. You roll 1d3 plus 2, you pull in that many enemy suspect markers from within 18 inches, and that's also the counter that counts down at the end of each subsequent activation, and if it hits 0, as long as one of them is still in base to base with the Joker, it will score for 3. And they're also playing Let's Dance, so if Joker, Harley or Clayface get attacked this round, that scores for 2. What a perfect time to draw that card, and that was a draw. So Joker's pulled in the 2 enemy frozen suspect markers to him. There's the 4 timer on it, and he screwed their plans up because they were going to play Frozen Assets. Frozen Assets is a phase 2, so if it was played now, it would be applied here. They're not doing that because it doesn't seem worth it. I might end up regretting that, but either way. For Audacity, Perfect Lady, Killer Frost, Nora, and the big guy for the Freeze crew all have Audacity. And then round here for the Joker crew, Buffon, Joker, Ace of Spades, and Harley all have it. Didn't give any to Clayface. In hindsight, probably could have, to encourage Let's Dance being scored by him getting taken out briefly. Although I think he keeps his Audacity markers if he moves, because he doesn't respawn per se, he moves and heals a bit. Well, either way, too late now. We are going to jump in. Joker, first activation, and those teeth exploding in 2 turns. So Joker got the second round started with Harley, who wanted to try and facilitate those teeth. So she moved up to the far side of Killer Frost and engaged her with her double stun handy heavy bat. Although, as mentioned, Killer Frost has used Adaptable to boost her defense to defense 5. Clayface has done the same. But that makes her a very tough nut to crack. Harley did really well with her attack rolls, but the defense roll was just too much. If Adaptable had not been used to buff her defense, she would have been down and out. As it turns out, a crit on the Strength Die was the only thing to get through So she took 2 stun and has been knocked down. Harley did effort twice as well, and the Enervating got used up on Killer Frost. The teeth moved 5 towards Harley, I believe it was, and now after whoever the Freeze crew activates, it's moving and exploding. So we're staying in this alleyway because Killer Frost was the first activation for the Freeze crew. She had a very busy turn. She had to suffer impaired movement to stand up, of course, because she got knocked down, but that still meant she had enough movement to get where she wanted, and very specifically placed so that she could put down a suspect marker as her tactical action right there, but not before making use of her Ice Queen rule to pick a suspect marker within 4 to freeze it as a free action. She froze the Stinky Fish from round 1, so it became frozen. That was a marker on Endless Winter. She put down the suspect marker after that in order to score. Oh no, where's the card gone? The card is over here. Hang on 1 second. Oh, there it is. Stay cool. So a friendly model places a friendly suspect within 4 inches of an enemy frozen suspect. It is within 4 of that and just outside of 4 of the friendly one there. Very specifically placed. So that has scored. And that was a free action to freeze. So she still had a special action. She used Ice Flash on the rocket launcher guy up here, who, even if you measure it either diagonally or as the crow flies, he's within 10 and she can see him. So he did pass his endurance roll, so he didn't get frozen. But suspect marker within 2 of him becomes frozen. So that did a bunch of stuff. That means Endless Winter scores because she froze 2 enemy suspect markers in the 1 turn that already had 1 marker. So that's also scored. It was already in play. The teeth. Covered that real quick. They moved 6 towards her. Exploded. 1 blood to her and also the frozen Hobo Clown. So that scored for Joker. But the Ice Age card kicked in as well and has frozen. Oh, where's the Ice Age card? There it is. Right there. The Ice Age card has frozen a So Long It's Been a Guess. Joker himself activated, having to stay where he is to make sure that Showtime I think is the deployment time, scores at the end of the activation following on from his. So it's just staying there, but he was pretty dead set on trying to take out Killer Frost. He started by using a special action as one-shot gun, got her in the gut. It doesn't matter that she boosted her defense with a Dactyl because it's got the firearm rule. She doesn't have cryo armor, which is her downside. Got her for 3 blood with that. Oh, I did forget to mention during Harley's turn at the top of the turn, she did use as a special action Psychiatrist. It's probably not going to matter, but +1 attack and defense to any of the Joker henchmen who are within 8 of her. Either way, he then just threw explosive teeth at her, knowing full well it would also hit Hobo Clown. Got them both for 1 blood, 1 stun with a little giggle. So she is all said and done. She's at 5. She's 1 hit away, 1 blood damage away, that is, from being taken out. She's still got 2 willpower though, but she's in a dangerous place. So for the Mrs. Freeze crew, the gun hands McGee lady down here activated, didn't have a dassy, she just stayed still and fired at the frozen Hobo Clown. Didn't even bother putting the exposure damage down. Apologise for being so reflective there. Just did the hits, and it, thanks to also the damage on him already, took Hobo Clown out. Does do the cold effects, that's 1 more on Kingdom of Ice, and during her turn she put an important research into play. Now Joker is very capable of stopping this if he's willing to remove one of the 2 Showtime markers. Oh, actually Showtime scores at the end of this activation, so they're fine to get moved now. He could do it with Buffoon, he could do it with Ace of Spades. Either of them just need to remove one of the oh, actually, is it one of their frozen suspects? To get rid of the Ice Age card? I'll need to check that, because if they have to get rid of one of their own, then, oh, they can still do that because of the fish. It doesn't matter. I think it's just, in general, it has to be a frozen suspect gets revealed. So they actually have, oh, either way, they have an option. Yeah, so just double checked, and it is any frozen suspect. Got myself mixed up there a little bit. Either way, Buffoon activated, but just to cover it, yeah, that is Showtime scored at the end of the activation just before this. So that has scored for 3. And for Buffoon's turn, he started by firing his nail gun into poor Killer Frost, and as a result got 4 hits through. He needed 5s, and he still did really well. He only needed to do 1, so that is, unfortunately for her, the last we're going to see of it. She did really good work though. She was carrying the team on her back, quite frankly. That scored a seasoning the mix for killing a model who was poisoned. So Joker's crew did well there. Not only that, he then used the free Inspired Manipulate from the Joker to remove, oh, along with the special action, he did have Audacy, to remove the frozen suspect, or one of the 2 the Joker pulled into himself, meaning important research. Boop, gone. With so much happening in 1 turn, I knew I'd forget to mention something with the reveal of the frozen suspect marker, the Ice Age card in play goes away, so long it's been a gas, gets placed on top of Joker's deck. So the Ginger Santa Claus looking Freeze Thug activated and immediately took swings at Clayface, which means that Let's Dance is scoring, just covering that now. Kind of forgot it was in play, unfortunately. Just rolled the strength die because he only needed to do 1 damage, he got it, so Clayface, that would be him KOing because it's blood stun, but at that point his reform rule comes into play. You have to put him in base to base with one of his clay markers. The one that had been next to that lamppost there was chosen. You remove the marker and you remove 3 damage from him. So he's healed himself for 2 blood, 1 stun. And he's still free to activate, although he doesn't have Audacity. He will get a free Manipulate when he activates though, because a clay marker has vanished, and he still has 2 more if he gets attacked again. So that's the strength of him, and his remake for 3rd edition rules are really good. So he wasn't done though, the Freeze Thug. Charged down here 8 inches, and then as a special action did Snowstorm again, catching Harley and hitting her for 2 stun. Next up for Joker's crew was Ace of Spades. He was next to where Clayface ended up, just there. He moved up 8 inches and has put down a Stinky Fish, so put in another Doesn't Look Fresh into play. He also, as a special action, used Joker's Gas to poison and enervate everyone within 4 inches. That means Harley has been infected, but so has the big Freeze Thug there. Now, he could have thrown a grenade as well, because he had a free Inspire from Joker. He's opted not to do that. He's holding on to it for now. So Nora activated and did eventually move down where you can see her there, but from where she was standing, she could Ice Flash Ace of Spades. She did so. He passed the roll, so he's -1 defense and 2 movement, but it also freezes the Stinky Fish he put down, which means that an Ice Age card comes into play, so a Die Hard has been frozen for the Joker crew. And then she shot at him. She gained assault with that frozen card, but she didn't need it. She was actually just within short range. But her attack roll was awful, just absolutely terrible. 1 hit for 1 blood, 1 stun. Now it does do cold though, so that's Kingdom of Ice up to 3. And during her turn, she put Important Research into play. And there's plenty of suspect markers that Joker could remove. Actually, wait, no, there isn't, because Clayface doesn't have Audacity. He gets a free Manipulate, but you need 2 actions to remove a frozen suspect marker. And the one up there doesn't have Audacity either, so actually, that's guaranteed to score. So the 2 activations Joker's crew has, Clayface activated and did some movement shenanigans. He did a movement action, which means he can move one of his clay body markers. He moved that one to where you can see it. He has a free Manipulate because he started the turn without 3 of them, and used it to put 1 down right there. Might be better to come around this side of the table to see where it is, honestly. There it is right there next to him, but he didn't have Audacity, so he can't do anything else. And with the completion of his turn, Important Research also scores. The Freeze Thug with the Power Fist activated, and she was just within 8 of Nora when she activated, so she had a free Inspired Manipulate. She moved into base to base with Ace of Spades, used that free Inspired Manipulate to get rid of the Stinky Fish. It does poison her, but it means it doesn't score. So that is out there in return for her being poisoned. She then used that Power Fist of hers to attack Ace of Spades. Efforted once, it's blood stun, it's crushing and devastating, I believe, so +1 to strength die roll and needs 2 successes to block a hit. 3 got through for 3 blood, 3 stun. It does cold as well, so I think he's -6 to his next movement action, and that is the second last Kingdom of Ice marker needed. 1 more and it will score. But he is still conscious. He is alive and awake. For removing that frozen fish though, which she only needed 1 action for because she's cold acclimated, I didn't say that already, she could score a Chill Out for revealing an enemy frozen suspect marker. Well, our friend with the rocket launcher up here just decided to go maximum chaos. No Audacity, he could make use of aim with his normal rockets, triple blood, firearm, explosive, anti-tank, etc. And he shot the rocket so that it would catch the 2 poisoned Freeze Thugs, because he wants to start bringing them down because they're poisoned. Now it did mean that Ace of Spades got caught in the crossfire and all of them took the full 3 damage. Ace of Spades is dead. The explosion took him out entirely. But it's presumably worth it in the long run, or maybe it was just because it was funny. So thanks to Hoboclown being shattered to dust earlier in the turn, there was just 2 activations left to do for Nora's crew. And we're just going to cover them both right now because one of them was just the engineer basically standing still down there. The Freeze Thug with the cryo launcher moved up and used the free Inspired Manipulate from Nora to put down a suspect marker. In doing so, did a Freeze is Coming, ended up with a 2+1 for 3. But the engineer, she has cryo grenade built in, so all she did on her turn was a special action to chuck a cryo grenade and freeze that marker to make it a bit harder to remove. It's not going to score this turn, it will score it into next turn, and that does take us to the end of the second round. So at the end of battle round 2, we're doing very well for our poison checks overall because nobody took any end of turn damage. There is no cards being played in the end phase though, so it's just the 2 in play for the freeze crew that are carrying over to battle round 3. Everyone healing 1 stun, although Clayface can heal 1 other stun or blood thanks to regeneration. And yeah, I think that about covers it. We've still got a couple of people with enervating. The Joker crew is starting to lose people faster than the freeze crew, but the freeze crew is close to losing a couple more thanks to that rocket launcher, so who knows, we'll see what happens. Top of the penultimate round, battle round 3, and the Joker crew has retained first activation, although I believe they have 1 pass now if they choose to use it. There's 1 phase 2 card being played, it can finally come out. It is a frozen asset from the freeze crew. It is being played on the suspect marker over there that the one with the cryo launcher placed, so he's now holding a one turn loot worth 2 victory points is the TLDR on that one. So, and the freeze is coming that he placed on that suspect marker will be counting down as well. Audacity marker wise, you can see all 4 of the freeze crew ones right there. For the Joker crew, it's basically everyone who is not the guy on the roof. In fact, I think it's literally everyone who's not the guy on the roof with the rocket launcher, who still has 1 rocket left for the record. So Clayface around there also has it, and with that, let's jump in. Clayface was the first activation for the Joker crew. He moved up to the suspect marker that the cryo launcher freeze thug put down, then using his tactical and his special action because it was frozen, he removed it, and it did a couple of things. For one, it denies a freeze is coming, so it is discarded, does not score. He scores another, so long it's been a gas. He's not really getting to thump anybody, but he is scoring cards. So that also means Joker's crew have to pick one of their models, put down a suspect marker and get enervating too. Harley was chosen. That's kind of to try and force an activation here to make use of the marker to freeze it, and then maybe give another member of the crew a chance to kill somebody or rocket. We'll see what happens. Well, the issue was indeed forced. The first activation for the freeze crew was Nora. She used Ice Flash on that suspect marker to freeze it. Oh, forgot to freeze an Ice Age card. We'll have to do, or a card via an Ice Age card. We'll have to do that in a second. She then, from where she was standing, shot the second of her 3rd lot of ammo. Did much better with her attacks. 3 hits for 3 blood, 3 stun. Exposure means she can do 2 more. She opted to do stun damage, which was enough to knock Harley out. Now, if you're wondering why didn't Harley use Acrobat, because of the stun damage on her already, if she'd acrobated she could do it twice, and then just 1 hit would need to get through to knock her out anyway, so it didn't seem like there was any point. At the start of Nora's activation, she put an Endless Winter in play, and that means there's already a 1 marker on it because she froze an enemy suspect marker. The freeze, or the Ice Age rather, we'll just do right now. There we go. It is a Let Them In on the Joke. I think these cards keep coming back. It's a Let Them In on the Joke that is now frozen. So before we cover the next activation, just quickly mentioning, with Nora hitting Harley successfully, that was the last pip needed on Kingdom of Ice that has scored for 2. So it's maximum chaos now for the Joker crew. The rocket launcher guy up here, he fired his last rocket into the same cluster as last time. The big guy actually managed not to take any damage. The one with the Parafist took 3 blood, she's got 1 blood left. And Harley took 3 and is dead. But that is a model with poison and dying, so seasoning the mix was able to be scored because it does not specify it has to be an enemy, just has to be a model. So the freeze engineer on the corner there just walked around a tiny bit, put down a suspect marker, and then as a special action chucked a cryo grenade at her feet to freeze it, and then played again. A freeze is coming, they'll score sooner or later, I promise. So rolled a 1 this time though, so it's only on a 2, so a reasonably high chance, unless Joker or Buffoon really want to put themselves in danger's way to stop it scoring this time. So Buffoon activated, and from where he was standing he shot the last of his nail gun ammo, I think he only has 2 loads, yeah, into the Parafist wielding freeze thug. Only rolled 1 normal die, she stopped 1 die because of her cryo armor, but it hit through, so didn't bother rolling anything else because it just needed to do 1 blood to kill her. So she is deceased, she's out of there. He then moved up and then used the Inspire from Joker to put down a suspect marker to score Let Them In on the Joke for 2. So the burly ginger freeze thug activated, walked down next to the suspect marker Buffon put down. He, as a special action, did Snowstorm, did 2 damage to Buffon as a result of using that. It would freeze the suspect marker, didn't bother putting the freeze marker on it however, because he is immediately removing it with his tactical action. He only needs 1 because he's cold acclimated, and that scores another Chill Out. It's also the second of the 3 required on the second Endless Winter card. Oh, and along with the second Endless Winter card getting its second of 3 pips, and Freeze is coming, hit 0 with the completion of his activation, and has scored for 3. Joker activated, but before I forget, with the removal of that Frozen Suspect, the Ice Age card's out of play. He charged forwards his 8 inches into the Engineer. She gets 1 free effort because she's next to a Frozen Suspect marker, thanks to her Cryo Armor. That also takes away 1 die, and she efforted once. So Joker went all in with his efforts to counteract all that. He was mostly fishing for the crit. His first strength die was a fail, his second one actually was a crit. So crit poison procced, and that's what he was looking for. Also, he still did 3 blood, but he really wanted the poison, because then he could score I'm feeling weird for 2. So Joker crew is out of activations, and there was 2 left for the Freeze crew. They didn't have Audacity, and one of them was out of ammo. So we're just going to cover their movement right now. The movement was actually more important. So the lady with guns for hands, no ammo left on her. She just moved up over here. And then the cryo launcher guy who's holding the frozen assets, he just moved down here. And there is reasons for that. It sets them up well for the final turn, and it is going to score them a card in phase 4, but we'll cover that in a second. So at the end of the penultimate round, it's going to be a real quick final round. The Engineer, who just got poisoned by Joker's crit hit, has taken 1 damage. The big guy who's poisoned did not. The cards in play, Endless Winter stays in play for the Freeze crew, but Frozen Assets scores for 2. There is 1 phase 4 card being scored, as I mentioned. It is a Sendum Drodagola, 6 models within 4 inches of Frozen Suspects. This whole cluster here is friend or foe, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and then 7, so easily scored that as well. So it's a very close match. I feel like both sides are scoring a ton, but the Joker crew is really thin on numbers now. So with that, let's jump into the top of the final turn. On to the final day, top of Battle Round 4, and the Mrs. Freeze crew has taken first activation. Basically everyone on the table who is left alive for both sides has Audacity. Only exception, I believe, is the gun hands lady with no ammo left. I think everybody else has it, because there's only 4 crew for the Joker left. There's a phase 2 being played. It is another Frozen Assets. It's not being played on the person adjacent to a suspect marker. It's actually being placed down here. So it is on the table represented by that event marker. Anyone who stands on it will be said to be holding it 1 turn loot. But with the Freeze crew going first, there is a plan. So the big ginger Freeze Thug activated, and immediately with reach 1 or 2, either way it has reach on his axe. Is it reach 2? The writing is too small. It is reach 1, there you go. It is reach 1, and he did it on Buffoon. Stopped counting after 4 because he's a 4/4 miniature. So Buffoon is out of there. And then he walked onto the Frozen Assets, picked them up, and as a special action did Snowstorm just to freeze the allied suspect marker that was there. And put into play Kingdom of Ice. It's not going to score. There's not enough of a game left for this to tick up, I think, but just got out of hand to see if anything else was drawn that was scoreable. Well, speaking of scoreable, totally forgot, Joker's crew could play You're Expendable for Buffoon getting killed there, so he scored 1 point off of that. So Joker's options for trying to score something were a bit limited, as were his options if he wanted to avoid the Freeze crew potentially scoring things. Doesn't want to put down any suspect markers, because if they freeze 1 more, then Endless Winter will score. He backed up over here, and is using his tactical and special action to get rid of this frozen suspect marker to score a So Long It's Been a Gas. That's about the best he could hope for off of that. And you know, even with the retranslated version of this, it doesn't specify whether you're allowed to ignore distance between suspect markers when you have to do the place afterwards. I'm going to assume you can't, so Clayface is dropping a marker. Well, unfortunately, thanks to that forced placement, the Engineer could activate, move up, and chuck a cryo grenade such that it froze the suspect marker that Clayface was forced to put down, ticking up Endless Winter when it's in focus, and scoring it for 2. And it also means that during her turn she can put an important research into play, because doing that froze a Bite the Dust. So there is only really 1 activation left for the Joker crew, and it's Clayface, and all he really needs to do is run up into that corner there, put down a suspect marker and score Confusion. So we're just going to call that good for their game. He's got no ammo left. At best he can just walk off the edge and fall. There's nothing for him to do. It does mean important research is going to score, because he's not going to reveal the suspect marker. Well, actually, it's only, I can't mix myself up. Ice Age is any suspect marker, right? When a frozen suspect marker is revealed. It does say revealed, not removed, so I don't think you're allowed to do friendly ones. I was just thinking he could remove that friendly one just to maybe do that, but I don't think that counts anymore as per the FAQ. So I don't think he can. So there is a bunch of activations left for Nora and her bunch. 1, 2, 3. I don't think there's anything they can really do to score anything. We'll have a quick look though. But yeah, we are counting important research scored and confusion for the Joker crew. Literally all Nora really needs to do is make sure that she needs to walk a bit closer to any frozen suspect marker, and that's just so that if we go in, or when we go into phase 4, which I guess we might as well just do now, another send them to the cooler will score at the tail end of this turn. The frozen assets picked up by the big guy will also score. There's no other phase 4s for either side, so we can pretty much go to the score piles now. Both crews have almost scored their entire decks, both of them, which I think by default means the Freeze crew has to have won because they have many more cards worth 3, and Jokers are all worth 2 or 1. So I think by default they've won, but both sides did fantastically with their scoring. Well, as I was saying, really high scoring game, but I believe by default that means the Freeze crew has to have won, but let's make this official. The Joker crew first. 2, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, 30. Bang on the dot 30, really good score. But playing 2, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 22, 23, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 30, 31, 32, 35, okay, yeah, 5, 6, 7, 8, 38. 38, and honestly I think there might have been a way to fandangle maybe one more score for 2 for the Freeze crew, but I knew there wasn't any need. So, very comfortable win for the Freeze crew, obviously, they did very well, but both sides were just scoring up a storm. And seeing that new Clayface, well, it's the old Clayface but with new 3rd edition rules, I'm very sure he'll be really good with the new Scarecrow crew if you can fit him in comfortably. He is like 110 rep or something. But they changed his rules and made him really decent and worthy of his rep cost, which is what he was needing for 3rd edition. Now if only we did the same for Solomon Grundy. Anyway, thank you very much for watching. I sincerely hope you enjoyed. Please do remember to show your support, and I hope to see you again in the future for something else. Until then, thank you again. Ta-ta for now.